Second little update on The Changing by Victor Laval. I'm about a third of the way through. Um, and yeah, the incident has slightly kind of piled up a little bit. Um, we've had we've had our main character, whose name now completely goes out of my head, which will come back. Uh, God damn it, I can't. I've completely lost his name. But he had his family where his father disappeared suddenly. Daniel West, I think, was the name of the father. God damn it. And anyways, he left, and he has this weird nightmare where his father comes in, pulls off his face, and smoke billows out, and he desperately wants to go with him. And so then he grows up, bookseller. He finds this occult book, which we're not continuing with like the cult book, but he's surrounded by cult books, and suddenly his biological clock ticks, and he quickly meets a woman, a librarian, Emma, Emma Valentine, and after a lot of asking out and stuff like that, they get together, end up having a kid. We have a whole sequence of them having a kid on a New York subway car that gets stopped in the middle of nowhere, and these performer rap kids, well, these performer kids, actually kind of aid them, shield them from the cell phones that want to take pictures of her giving live birth, which was nice. Gives birth to uh, the son, which they call Brian, after the father, who is Brian. So I guess maybe he is Daniel. Damn it! I wonder why I can't get his name. And she gives birth, and she's starting to feel depressed, and she buys these chains, and her sister, who is the one who wanted them to have kind of the live birth, not live birth, natural birth, tells them, oh, I want to tell you a story now, that you're acting kind of bizarre, and you've got all these chains and a bicycle lock. And so she does, which is that when they were just young kids. I think Emma was like 5, or very, very young, so young that the traumatic event of her parents dying in a fire, she doesn't particularly remember, because she thinks she's always bought the story that they were coming home from school and they found out that the parents had died in a fire. Actually, it turned out they had stayed at home. Father had come home angry, kind of yelled at the mother, but they'd woke up a while later, and the father was waking them up because it turned out the mother had set a fire in the house, and father was carrying them out, but mother grabbed Emma, the youngest, and wouldn't let her go until finally Emma looked at her and said, "Let go." And she said it like in some way that they could all hear it, even though she wasn't speaking loudly. It almost sounds like it's telepathic. And so she let go, and father got them out. Then he went back in, and he just went back in. He looked back, and it was like it was apparent to them he wasn't coming back out. He was just going to die with them, and he did. So we have that, and so the sister says, "So I'd like you to go on some psychiatric medication, because you're scaring me here." And we had, obviously, there's a history of mental illness in her family, and so she does. And then she and, I think it's Daniel, are having are fighting, and she's like, "That's not our kid. It doesn't look like our kid. It's not our kid. It's not. It's not. It's not Brian. It's not the kid I gave birth to." So she's convinced it's been switched or something. It's not their kid. And so he wakes up, and he finds himself chained with a bicycle lock around his neck, choking him, that he basically can't move without choking himself to death. He looks up, and there's this shadowy, skinny figure. And at first it's like it's a man, but then it changes into it's her. It's his wife. She gets the kettle. She pounds him in the face with a hammer, and then goes into the other room and murders their child. And then we jump forward, and he's getting out of prison, because what happened is he got patched up in the hospital and then got a gun and went to her library and held people hostage because some part of his brain blamed them for making her go back to work so quickly after giving birth. I mean, she actually had what they describe as, probably for the U.S., actually fairly generous maternal leave of like a couple of weeks, or not some weeks, but it wasn't enough if that was going to be the thing. So he ended up going to jail for that. And now he's back there. He's back in his own old neighborhood again. He doesn't want to stay in his apartment, which is amazingly still there somehow. And he's at a support meeting for other people who've had tragedy, and they're kind of talking to him about what happened. It's like, why did you go to the library and do that? Why did you hold people at gunpoint? So that's where we're at. I guess we're going to have something about, he will have money because that scrupulous, he found a first edition copy of To Kill a Mockingbird that was made out, dedicated, had a written, signed, and with a dedication to Truman Capote in it, using Truman Capote's thing, but it was in the scrupulous hands of a very scrupulous assessor. So I'm assuming the assessor still has the book, and he is probably going to be up for a shit ton of money for that. So then he will have some economic freedom to figure out things, I guess. So that's where we're at. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about like all the kind of like, his family had stuff, her family has stuff, kind of that kind of, it's funny, you get one too many too far on a thing. I'm going to accept it because that's the kind of the genre it is. It's interesting. I read Sean the Book Maniac's Goodreads thing about it, and he kind of bailed probably around now just because he thought probably he found this a little bit too much of a piling up of incident. I can take it as the incident. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that at the moment. Plot summary, and then just a few little notes on why I thought maybe it doesn't work. All right. I'm trying not to plot summarize so much the next time. I really have to work on that. All right. More later.